Welcome back, Dr. Zoda here, and I want to welcome you here to this lesson, Freedom Fastlane. Now, first of all, I want to start off by thanking you for the privilege of being able to serve you. I'm here to tell you that today, you're beginning to experience something that can truly change the quality of your life forever. And I'm speaking from experience. I've had the privilege of working with over 100 doctors, nurses, PAs, and other medical professionals from all walks of life, and studying what is the cutting edge that makes the difference on the quality of life of healthcare professionals. And I want you to know that I'm absolutely committed to making you get the freedom that you deserve from this program. And all that's required is two things. Number one, the desire on your part. And number two, the commitment to follow through each day and take massive action. If you do that, the life that you used to call dreams will become part of your daily reality. And again, I'm speaking from experience. The experience that I'm speaking from is not only helping other medical professionals replace their clinical income and enjoy lives of financial freedom, but making changes in my own life and becoming a master of my destiny. And what I call destiny is simply the power or agency that decides the course of future events, being a master of your own future. Many of us go through our lives without much conscious thought, based on decisions that we've made in the past. We wake up, we have our morning cereal, we go to the commute, find a parking spot, do our morning rounds, cases, paperwork, academic meetings, and so on and so forth. And the energy that we have at the end of the day, whatever the energy we have left, we squeeze in an hour or two for ourselves and for our family, just to go back to sleep, wake up, and do it all over again. It's a life that many of us consciously decided at one point in time. And it's a career path that many of us take great pride in. To become a medical professional, to become a doctor, a nurse, a pharmacist, a PA, those are decisions that we take great pride in. And when we made the decision to devote our lives to the medical profession, you dreamed of a stable career, healing the sick, and making a difference in the health of other people. And many of us derive a lot of meaning from our work in serving others with the skills and expertise that we already have. But things change. Our priorities change when we start a family. And the environment, the world, the market, the hospital system, these things change. Medical field is just not what it used to be. 88% of doctors are severely stressed, 54% of doctors are burnout, and 59% of doctors won't even recommend this path to children. In the hospital, we're overwhelmed with bureaucracy, we spend too many hours at work, and we feel just like a cog in a machine. Outside the hospital, we're seeing doctors get laid off, drowning in student loans, and working pennies to the dollar. And many of our clients, they say that we're not getting any younger, and I just don't know how many more years I can keep doing this. And I've been observing this pattern festering like a cancer ever since I joined medical school. Medical professionals aren't even taking proper care of our own mental health, with physician suicide being at an all-time high. And as such, our patient care also suffers, with surgeons operating on patients with only 2 hours of sleep, if at all. Needless to say, many of us just don't feel like we're in control of our own destiny. We don't have the freedom that we expected. We feel powerless about our own life and our careers and our financial future. We're a slave to the system and we feel like a cog in the machine. And this always fascinated me. How come you can have a group of highly educated, hardworking, selfless, generous individuals, experts in the medical field that have devoted their lives to education and serving other people, right? Experts in the medical field that know the value of hard work and intelligence, and yet at the same time they don't produce the freedom of life that they deserve, the freedom of life that they want. And while someone else who seems to have every disadvantage, they don't have the support emotionally, financially, socially, spiritually, they don't have the education, they don't have the background, and yet they go to produce results way beyond what anyone else could expect. How could there be such a huge mismatch between the results that people tend to get? And the difference in the quality of our lives does not come down to our ability, because what human beings are capable of is absolutely incredible. We've invented stone tools, we discovered fire, gunpowder, we invented rockets to go to space. The difference in the ability, in the quality of our lives, does not come down to our ability. Rather, what people will do is rather different than what they can do. And what I'm going to challenge you to do in this program is to take massive action on the life and freedom that you deserve, and making the right decisions to get the freedom and the abundance that you deserve, because you're worth it. This means that the ability to take action and generate results, and not just results that are woo-woo, that are results that are short-lived, results that, that make you feel good gimmicky results. I'm not talking about those results. I'm talking about long-lasting change, long-lasting results in your life and your career. Results where you only need to put in the work once and reap the rewards downstream. Seeds which you can plant today, seeds which you can plant just once and reap the harvest for generations to come. And it's a power that you already have. It's not something that I'm going to give you, but something that I'm committed to awaken within you. And all that's required is the desire on your part and the commitment to follow through and take action. And it's a power that you already have, a power that you once knew to be true, but along our journey of life, we got distracted. We have bills to pay, obligations, responsibilities, and along our journey of life, we decided to forget that we had this power in the first place. A power that's locked deep inside you, and by tapping into your potential, you can make a great contribution to society, enriching humanity with discoveries and insights, the gift that you have for the world, and serving more people along the way. And the journey outwards always starts within. The journey to changing the world, impacting more people, expanding our global reach, contributing, serving, helping the world, it all starts with yourself. And you're probably wondering, hey, Dr. Zoda, what does this have to do with passive income and financial freedom? I came into this program just to start an online course. I didn't sign up for this. What does this have to do with helping and teaching other people with online education, with online courses? Well, I'm sure you've noticed that it's not just about knowing things that actually counts. There's plenty of people that know a lot of stuff. Their heads are full of information and they just can't seem to do anything with it. They know a lot, but they don't achieve a lot. And I'm sure you've also noticed that there's some people who don't seem to know as much as other people, but they just seem to succeed so much, way beyond their wildest dreams. I'm sure you've noticed these things and these occurrences throughout life, and it's not just about knowing information, and it's not just about some secret strategy or some fancy gimmicks. There's something else. There's something else which other people haven't been talking about for no other reason really than they just haven't understood it. Why do you know what you need to do, but you just can't do it? Why do you hope, dream, and pray for things, but never seem to be able to obtain or achieve them? Why does everything seem just out of reach? Why do you start making positive progress towards your dreams, towards your goals, but then always self-sabotage? These are important questions to ask yourself, because unless you can uncover these underlying reasons, you keep making the same mistakes over and over again without knowing why. You keep missing out on opportunities that are right in front of you, not knowing why. You keep rejecting and denying yourself of the opportunity to help more people, to become better, to serve more people out of ultimate fear and denial. And you might be wondering, seriously, what is this strange content doing in a program about passive income and automating your medical expertise? If you remember from week 1, lesson 1, the reason this program gets such amazing results for people is because it's engineered to be the catalyst of change. And it's not just some doodles scrapped together without much careful thought or planning. It's precisely orchestrated in the right sequence, in the right steps to generate one specific outcome for your life, your career, and your financial future. And to accomplish this, I've put a lot of effort and attention and study and experimentation into the art of changing people and getting them the results that they want. My central focus throughout creating these training programs is to get medical professionals exactly the life that they want and the freedom that they deserve. I want more healthcare professionals to build passive income instead of always being tied down to one-to-one consultations. I want more healthcare professionals to leverage the power of the internet to automate the clinical expertise that they already have to generate passive income and generational wealth. I want more healthcare professionals to work because they want to, not because they need to. And most importantly, I want more healthcare professionals to have the freedom and autonomy that they deserve to live life on their terms while serving more people on a global scale. The truth is, setting up your online course, it's simple, and there's no need to make it any more complicated. What's most valuable is your expertise, and you already have everything that you need inside your head already. You're already an expert, although you might not feel like it, and all you have to do is just package that expertise that you spend years and years of schooling, training for. You just have to package it for the online world. But from my observation, I used to teach tactics, but I noticed that not everybody got results. They would understand what to do, but somehow they didn't implement them. Life got in the way. I didn't have the time. I just couldn't find the time. Or they understood them, but they just didn't believe them. Oh, will this actually work? Will people actually buy this? Will I actually have a good idea? Is there actually a market for this? these things bubble up to the surface, and they might understand the tactics, but they just don't feel worthy of success. They don't feel worthy of a life of freedom, and they can't seem to break free from these barriers, and they just can't seem to face their fears head on or get outside of their comfort zone. And because of this, they get stuck in analysis paralysis, a slave to the prison of their own minds. Irrational fears, uncertainties, doubts, they start bubbling up, pouring in and suffocating them, strangling them from making the right decisions to achieve what they want. And in the end, they don't take action, and if they don't take action, they don't get results. They remain where they started, having not tried at all. And to be honest, I've been doing this for long enough now that I became very aware of what was going on with all of my students, and I became aware of the difference between those who achieve massive results seemingly effortlessly and those who would struggle to even take the right step, the first step. And although I used to focus on just teaching what to do alone, there was one piece missing. It's more than just knowing what to do that counts, right? I have the recipe for success. I have the recipe to start your online course. That stuff is simple. That's why I came up with this new philosophy of creating these training programs, and I call it the catalyst of change. And hey, although I know this might sound bleak, I think it's better for me to just tell you this today. And I'll share a bit about my story because this is easier to see in our patients, but it's harder to see in ourselves. As healthcare professionals, it's our privilege to be with our patients when they draw their last breath. I remember back in my medical school years ago, I would spend the summers volunteering at the palliative care ward. And I've always had a fascination with what really makes the quality of life that people experience. And in my conversations with the eldest and the wise and the dying and the aging, treating the sick and understanding how they viewed their life at their final moments, I was hoping to uncover what really makes a life well lived. And the answer fascinated me, and it had me shocked to the core. Because it's not death that these patients tell me they fear. It's what happens short of death. Losing their hearing, their memory, their loved ones, and their way of life. Time slips by fast, and in the end we only regret the chances that we did not take and the decisions that we waited too long to make. Of which here are a few of them. Not spending enough time with my family. Not traveling the world and doing what I love. Not allowing myself to be happy, giving myself the permission to be happy. And above all else, not taking action on the life that you want. And whatever I heard that summer, it either traumatized me or it absolutely inspired me. One by one, I would listen to their stories, their adventures when they were younger, their regrets when they were older. And we really formed a kindred spirit. We really formed a kindred relationship. They would remember my names and I would remember theirs. And they tried to set me up with some of the nurses in the same ward, and they tried to share pictures of their children with me. We really became friends at the end of their journey. And one by one, I would see their beds become empty. One by one, I would see them disappear. Their hospital beds empty without a trace. And by the end of that summer, not one of them remained. And all that remained were the remnants, the stories, and the lessons that they shared with me in their final moments. And making a change is pretty scary. It's going to require you to step outside your comfort zone and take action. But you know what's scarier? Regret. The worst feeling is regretting not having done something when you had the chance. And while this might sound heavy, it's better for me to tell you this today than for you to realize this decades down the road when you think back to the path not taken, the life not lived. And when we've missed this window of opportunity, it's just way too late. I've lost many of my colleagues during the pandemic, and a few of them I was really close with. I wasn't expecting that, and it really shocked me to the core, because most people, they don't take action because of some sort of irrational fear of failure. And I see this especially happen with doctors. Medicine is an incredibly traditional, orthodox, and stringent specialty, and rightfully so, right? One decimal point is the difference between a lethal and a therapeutic dose. One error in our patient ID or the drug prescription is the difference between life and death, the difference between our careers and our lawsuit. But surprisingly, not once in my conversations at the palliative care ward did they ever tell me that they regretted the things they did, but rather they regret the things that they did not do. And you see, Failure is not some sort of overnight experience, and neither is success. Failure is the result of failing to take action, failing to follow through, failing to say I love you, failing to give 100%, to go all in, failing to invest in yourself and make the right decisions, and committing to change. That creates the ultimate failure in life: regret. And once that opportunity is gone, it's gone forever and it will never return. And yet, on the other hand, success is also not overnight, but it happens one step at a time. It's successfully taking action one step at a time. It's successfully getting yourself to show up and give your best, to follow through with the things you promised yourself. It's successfully breaking through the barriers, the fears, the limiting beliefs that once held you back, the limiting beliefs that used to stop you. And it's the culmination of all those little successes, just like a stacking dominoes on top of another, that eventually creates a life that we have total pride and joy, knowing that we've lived this human experience fully, knowing that it's a life well lived. This program is to show you how to absolutely tap into that power within you on an ongoing basis, and to make success not only achievable but effortless, and become your new standard of living, your new baseline. And before I go any further, I want to tell you that I have incredible respect for you, and my team and I are committed to your success. And I hope that my caring will come through in my sincerity, in the quality of my work, and the journey that we're about to take together for the next 4 weeks of the program. The reason I say that is because I feel like you and I are kindred spirits. And the reason I say that is because you've joined this program, you've joined our community, and you've made an investment in yourself and your future. And you're now actively listening to it, which means that you're 10 times ahead of 99% of the people that you and I are going to meet on the street. People who want their lives to change, but they have no clue what it is that they even want. And worse off, they're not willing to do anything to change their circumstances. You've made an investment in yourself and your financial future, and the fact that you're even listening to this lesson shows me that you're willing to do what it takes to succeed. So I'm committed to do my part to give you the guidance and the step-by-step process that will really make a difference in the quality of your life. I've spent my life focused on one primary question: what really makes the difference in the quality of someone's life? And I believe that in life, power comes from concentrating your focus and taking daily action to improve yourself. If all you do is just work on one thing every single day and improve 1% a day, what's the difference that you're going to make in a year? Well, it's not 365% difference, right? It's not just addition, because 1% a day, it starts stacking on top of another, just like one domino next to each other. You get to take advantage of compounded interest, of exponential growth. We're talking about differences way beyond anything you can imagine. Einstein used to say that compound interest is the 8th wonder of the world. And what I'm trying to say is this: by taking small actions daily, little bits of progress, you can absolutely transform the quality of your life and experience the freedom that you deserve. So don't get disheartened if you don't see results from today's efforts, because today's results come from yesterday's efforts. The people that succeed, they put in some work today, and they understand that they understand that overnight success and overnight failure, these things don't happen, right? Most people, they put in some work today, they see no results, and that must mean that, this is not working. I must be doing something wrong. And it's like a snake eating its own tail. No matter what you do, you continuously self-sabotage. For example, I might have eaten a salad this morning, and when I look in the mirror, I don't look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. I don't look like some Hollywood celebrity. That must mean I'm doing something wrong. That must mean I'm a failure. That must mean this doesn't work. Or let's say the first day of medical school. You open up a medical textbook. You start learning, the basics, pharmacology, physiology, anatomy. And the next day, you forgot what you read. That doesn't mean you're not succeeding. It just means you're taking the first step in the process. So trust the process, because the efforts that you put in today, you're not going to see the results immediately. It's like planting a seed. It's like planting a tree. The best time to plant a tree is 10 years ago. The second best time to start is now. That being said, what I want to share with you in this program, in this lesson, are the skills on how to do that, how to accomplish more quickly than you've ever dreamed before, how to make it happen now, not just 10 years from now. And my expertise in this area comes from the fact that I wanted to make changes in my own life. Because I believe that success, it doesn't come to those who do a lot of things. Success comes to those who ignore everything else and focus on the few small decisions that they need to take to generate remarkable results. Let's face it, in today's day and age, we have more information on our fingertips than the President of the United States 20 years ago. The world is constantly evolving, the world is constantly shifting, the tectonic plates are constantly moving beneath our feet. More information is flooding into our eyes, our ears, our sensory organs that we couldn't even keep up. If all the information is really out there for free, why isn't everyone successful? Because in today's day and age, success is not about knowing what to do, but rather knowing what not to do. And those who master their focus, they eliminate all else, and those who are ready to take action will experience the life of their dreams. All it takes is the desire and the commitment to follow through. The problem is that most of us in life, we're not in control of the power that we already have, our power of mental focus. In fact, many of us focus on things that don't even contribute towards our goals. We focus on things like, well, gosh, how come my life isn't working? Well, gosh, will this actually work? Well, gosh, how come this always happens to me? Who would actually listen to what I have to say? Do I actually have what it takes to succeed? Can I actually make this work? And if you focus on that long enough, well, that's exactly what you're going to experience. Because what you believe, you'll become. And what you become, you'll believe. In life, whatever we focus on consistently, we tend to manifest in our lives. Focus is like the sun. Wherever it shines, there's your harvest. That's what you're going to grow. If you want more positivity in your life, focus on the positive things. If you want more negativity in your life, well, focus on the negative things. That is the problem. Most people in life focus on the wrong things, on the trivial things that do not matter. That is, they're focused on how to make a living instead of how to design a life worth living. They're focused on the past rather than investing in their future. They're focused on what didn't work rather than focusing on what does work. They're focused on hype, fashion, gimmicks, the next shiny object, some fancy marketing that you see, rather than focusing on the truth, the reality. They're focused on what they're bad at, their fears, their insecurities, their doubts, rather than focusing on what they're already good at. For example, their medical knowledge, their expertise, their desire to help other people, and their love for teaching and serving. And many of us, we get caught up in our day-to-day experiences that we tend to forget the real important changes in the long term. And so in today's lesson, I'm going to show you exactly how you can reprogram your mind for success, and how to focus on the few tiny changes, the few small decisions that you need to make to help you generate remarkable results, long-lasting results in your mindset. And if you can do these few pieces right, you can pretty much bomb everything else and you'll still succeed and have the quality of life that you deserve. Because focus is today's superpower. It's not about knowing what to do that matters, it's knowing what not to do. Focus. Put your phone on hold, put your kids to sleep. This is your time to focus on the things that really matter to you. Because we'll be covering a lot of ground really quickly, and I've condensed over 1,000 books that I've read on, neuroscience, psychology, spirituality, philosophy, the domains of expertise far beyond the scope of just online education. And I've distilled it into something practical that you can apply today to experience the life that you want. Alright, and here's what we're going to cover. First and foremost, the only 3 pillars to your success. You can pretty much bomb everything else, and as long as you get these 3 pieces right, you will succeed and you will take the most advantage out of this program and transition from being a slave to freedom. And what I mean by slave is simply not just being a hospital slave, trading your time doing one-to-one consultations, but being a slave to time, being a slave to your circumstances, and being a slave to your own mind, your own limiting beliefs that might hold you back. You can only get these 3 things right, and you're pretty much going to succeed. So it's vitally important. Second of all, we're going to talk about clean thinking. And what is clean thinking doing in a program, in a lesson like this, you might ask? Well, just like you're doing any medical procedure, we want to come into the environment to ensure that we don't contaminate whatever we're about to do. And a lot of people, when they join a program like this, they come in with all these stories of their past, stories that they tell themselves in the past, whether this has worked, whether this doesn't work. They come in with all these misconceptions and preconceptions about what things are and what things aren't. And just like performing a medical procedure, we want to wash our hands. We want to sterilize our tools. We want to make sure that we come into the environment without any judgments, without any biases, without any delusions that might hold us back from the change that we want to experience. Okay? Part number 3, we're going to talk about the power of belief. How to empower your reality. And this is drawing from the knowledge that I've had reading over 1,000 books on neuroscience, psychology, philosophy, all walks of life, all different biographies that I've read, and distilling it into 3 fundamental rules that govern our reality, 3 fundamental principles that govern the way we perceive reality. And part number 4 is about self-acceptance. It's about discovering who you are, coming face to face with our own strengths, with our own weaknesses, about who we actually are, the story that we tell ourselves, the identity that we tend to have. All right, this is going to be a very enlightening lesson, because any change that you experience in the external world, whether it's about how much money you make, what job titles you have, any achievements that you have, it all starts internally. It all starts within, and coming face to face with our own strengths, our own weaknesses, and accepting ourselves. Part number 5, we're going to talk about the freedom Fastlane. This is what everything is culminating towards, and in this lesson, I'm going to share with you basically what I call the Freedom Fastlane Bible, where you can actually decide on your destiny, get crystal clear with what you actually want and how you can best get there. Okay? With clarity brings power. Most people aren't even clear with what they want. Most people don't even know what they want. And this is basically a goal planning workshop where we get crystal clear on who you are and who you want to become, on what you want to achieve and what type of life you really want to build for yourself, your family, for your future. All right, this is a very exciting lesson, and this is what this entire lesson is going to culminate towards. So let's talk about the only 3 pillars from slave to freedom. All you really need is these 3 things: a plan, a specialized knowledge, and mindset. These are the only 3 things you need to be successful. If you have one of these, you might get okay results. If you have 2 of these, you might get good results, but you need all 3 in order to get the results that you want to accomplish in this program. Success is 20% knowing what to do and 80% mindset, the psychology behind success. First and foremost, the plan. Most people have absolutely no idea what they even want. If you don't know what you want, well, then of course, you're definitely not going to get what you want. If you don't believe me, just go out to the streets, ask somebody where they want to be in 12 months' time, in 1 year's time, 2 years' time, 10 years' time, and just see for yourself. You're going to look at the human race and you're going to wonder, where are we heading towards? Well, we just don't know. People don't plan to fail. They fail to plan. Not having a plan is like showing up to the airport without a ticket. You might end up in the savannas. You might end up in the bottom of the Pacific Ocean. And if you do that, well, you're going to wake up one day from this life that you've created for yourself and realize, well, crap, this isn't where I want to be. How did this actually happen? I didn't design this life consciously. How did this actually happen? Because without a plan, you're going to be a part of someone else's plan. And sometimes that someone else might not have your best interests at heart. If you're working in a very toxic environment in the hospital system, well, your boss, you're basically a part of your boss's plan, right? Unless you take control of your life, you're always going to be dictated by someone else's plan, whether it's the government or your employer, and so on and so forth. So you need a plan. Having a plan brings clarity. And oh, you might be thinking, oh, this is too simple. It can't possibly be true. This is too simple. I already know, I already know a plan. I'm a doctor. I'm a healthcare professional. I run with plans all day. That might be what you're thinking. But it's simple but powerful, right? In this lesson, I'm going to show you exactly how to create your plan to really experience the life that you want. Often, the most important things to your success, it's never really about something hiding in details, right? It's not some secret or some hack or some buzzword. It's just the fundamentals that are staring you right in front of your face. The fundamentals that are simply right under your nose. And that's what we're going to tackle first. Second of all, specialized knowledge. Now, what is specialized knowledge? Masters know something that others simply do not. They apply that knowledge to empower themselves and help other people. That's it. Whether it's you're in the medical field, education industry, the legal profession, culinary world, all of these are masters in their craft. It's literally in the Chinese word, this word means shi, which means shifu. And if you've ever, studied Chinese, shifu basically means your master, right? And this title is held in a very high position. It's basically pedestalized by the majority of people. Doctors, they're seen as experts in their field. Teachers, they're seen as experts in their field. Masters of their field. Lawyers, chefs, accountants. These are people that are deemed to be masters of their field, masters of their craft. And masters simply know something that others don't. That's it. They apply that knowledge to empower themselves and to help other people. And the truth is, you already have that covered. Whether you feel like a master or not, whether you feel like an expert or not, you are an expert. You went through years of schooling, you went through years of training, you put yourself through years of student loans, and you graduated and become a doctor. You might not know everything, but you don't need to. You simply know something others don't. And you can apply that knowledge, as you already do in your day job, to empower yourself and help other people. So you're already a master, even if you don't feel like you are. Even if you have, some sort of imposter syndrome holding you back, you already are an expert, and it's time to start serving and empowering other people with the knowledge and expertise that you already have. Second of all, success is not a miracle. Success is engineered by following a proven process. That's it. You didn't become a doctor straight out of your mother's womb. You didn't come out of your mother's womb knowing how to do brain surgery. That just doesn't happen. If we want to do a medical procedure, we follow a proven process. If we have a patient with an infection and we want to figure out which antibiotic to give him, we follow an algorithm. If we want to bake a cake, we follow a recipe. It doesn't matter whether you're Gordon Ramsay or whether you're some head chef. You always start by learning the recipes first before you start tinkering and exploring the other possibilities and improving your craft. If you want to hike up a mountain, let's say you want to hike up Mount Everest, well, guess what? You're going to follow a map. If you want to learn investing, you're probably going to read a book. You're going to read some white papers. You're going to study, right? Specialized knowledge is not a miracle. And success is not a miracle. It's engineered by simply following a proven process. A lot of people coming into this program, they think that, I need the perfect idea before I get started. I need the right idea, the right business idea. I need to basically invent the next iPhone, the next iPad. I need to have some sort of magical breakthrough. I need to sit down beneath a tree and wait for an apple to fall on our head just to figure out this right idea. I need to take a pen and paper, take a notepad, go into the cabin in the woods and brainstorm with my family, with my friends, just to figure out this magical, mystical idea. It always seems to be beyond the reach. But ideas don't happen by accident. They don't happen by fluke. They don't happen by chance. They're not some miraculous event that happens. Ideas are engineered by following a proven process, and success is engineered by following a proven process. It's engineering, it's science. It's not some magic, hokey pokey, hocus pocus, magical miracle that happens overnight. There's a process to all of this, just like conducting a surgery, just like this decision on, what drug to give your patients, just like baking a cake, just like hiking up Mount Everest. There is a process to all of this, and specialized knowledge is typically extremely hard to find. Right? Most people back in the old days, without the internet, without a library card, you have to go out and look at multiple different sources, multiple different mentors. You have to basically try to compile all of this information out by yourself. But you're going to get the very best of it in this training program. That is the true beauty about starting an online course. You can package all the specialized expertise, all the specialized knowledge that you already have, and memorialize it forever to serve more people without trading your time, energy, or health. As a doctor, patients have to schedule time out of their day. They have to commute, find a parking spot, come to our clinic, listen to the same conversation that we've had for the 100th patient that we had in a row. And you've probably been repeating the same conversation, the same explanations for the same conditions for the last 20 years of your training, right? It's a very tedious, cumbersome, and time-consuming process. But the true beauty of publishing your expertise online is that your specialized knowledge gets memorialized on the internet forever. Imagine trying to figure out how to do brain surgery all by yourself. You can pretty much borrow a library card, read every publication, read every textbook under the sun, but you're still probably going to be lost until you actually do it. In this program, you get all my specialized knowledge distilled and simplified into the next 4 steps, into the 4-step system. And I'm giving you all of my best stuff without you having to piece together everything yourself. All the technology, the platform, the templates, the website designs, the sales process, I give you all of it. So you just have to fill in the blanks with the expertise that you already have and get your course launched in the shortest time possible. Now, you still have to learn some stuff by yourself, but by no means will you have to build anything else yourself from scratch, because I've basically boiled down everything I've accumulated along my journey so far, the tools, the templates, and we give it to our clients within the program. And I say this without any hyperbole. This training program is the best in the world for helping medical professionals start an online education business to generate passive income without wasting a moment of time. If you've passed your 4 years or 6 years or 8 years of medical school and training and residency, well, 4 modules, 4 weeks, 4 steps in this training program, it's going to be a cakewalk. It's just 4 chapters in a rather simple process. Because most of the heavy lifting we've already done for you, and most of the heavy lifting you've already done to accumulate all the specialized knowledge in your medical specialty, in your medical profession, all of that is already inside your head. Now it's all just about packaging your expertise for the online world to generate passive income and generational wealth, and automating it to become a passive income stream. So you've already got this covered. And finally is mindset. Now, first and foremost, don't put this off as woo-woo. I'm not gonna, ask you to go take some psychedelics or go to the mystical mountains and meditate for months and, align your chakras with the stars of the starry sky. I'm not gonna ask you to do any of that. This is all scientific. This is all stuff that I've accumulated along my journey so far that actually practically works for me. Because in life, I'm sure you've noticed, what you believe, you become, and your attitude determines your altitude, what you get from life, right? If you can condition your emotions for freedom and abundance, well, that's what you're going to get in life. Growth happens whenever we step outside our comfort zone. And whenever we do something new, it's going to seem a bit unfamiliar to us initially. Our fears, our uncertainties, our doubts, they're going to bubble up to the surface. And that is absolutely normal. And you shouldn't judge yourself for it, because that is just a normal part of the process. And your worldview, your mindset, your paradigm is basically the collection of the experiences, the beliefs, and the judgments and biases that you have. Most of us aren't even aware of this. Most of this happens in our subconscious, right? We might think that as human beings, we have the neocortex, a lot of our conscious thought actually happens. A lot of our decisions comes consciously, but actually, most of our decision making happens subconsciously without us even being aware of it. We are creatures of habit, and unless we can be aware of these habits, unless we can be aware of these patterns, we're going to keep making the same mistakes, doing the same thing over and over and over again. So how can we expect different results, right? If you know what's important for you, but procrastinate, you don't take action, you always fall back to your impulses, your temptations, you get distracted, and you have limiting beliefs that hold you back from the life that you want, then it's time to look into your mindset. You know exactly what's important for you. You know exactly what you need to do, but you just can't seem to take action. There's some resistance, there's some inertia behind taking action, whether it's going on a call, whether it's committing to someone, whether it's making the right decision to advance the next stage of your career, right? You know what's important for you. You know what's important for yourself, your family, your future, but you just can't do it. Well, it's time to look into your mindset. And that's what we're going to cover in today's lesson. Success is 80% mindset and 20% knowing what to do. If you have the right mindset, you can pretty much bomb most of the things, but you are still going to succeed. But if you have an unhealthy mindset, one that is plagued with a lot of delusions, a lot of judgments, of biases, a lot of beliefs that disempower you, well, it's going to be pretty hard to succeed. It's going to be like pushing the train out of the station. You're going to be met with a lot of massive resistance. So it's better to start with a clean slate. And that's exactly what we're going to do. Part 2, clean thinking. How to sterilize your mind. Just like going into a medical procedure, just like going into the operation theater, we're going to start off by sterilizing our environment, our tools, our hands, so that we don't contaminate what we're about to do. So that we can come in with an empty mind, a beginner's mind, and actually get the most out of this program and take advantage of what I'm about to share with you. Freedom starts by letting go. And the more you let go, the more you are free. And the more you let go, the more you make space to be open for everything else, to be connected with the essence of life, to be attached to nothing and connected to everything. Healing starts with letting go. Spirituality starts by letting go, unlearning all of the faulty beliefs that you once accumulated along your journey so far and replacing them with new ones. And you can almost think about it like a software update. Human beings, we might think that our brains are so evolved, but actually the hardware is quite outdated. And most human beings, they're just so distracted that they're in dire need of a software update. And what I mean by a software update is simply a reset of the mind. And education, our education system, to become a good student, to become a best student, you must adopt a beginner's mind. Now, I'm sure many of us listening to this program, we come from all backgrounds, right? And to become a student again is to adopt a beginner's mind, to absorb everything, to be willing to learn, to be willing to grow, and to be willing to set aside our judgments, our biases, our differences, and learn as much as you possibly can to take advantage of this program. And so let me ask you a question. What is the most resilient pathogen? Is it a parasite, a bacteria, a virus, an intestinal worm? It's a belief. A belief is resilient, highly contagious, and once a belief has taken hold of the mind, one that you believe with full conviction, despite contrary evidence, a story that you've been conditioned to believe in since your childhood, to your education, to your employment, to your daily lifestyle, repeated in your mind over and over and over and over again, it's almost impossible to eradicate. And just like a pathogen invades a host, so too would a belief come to invade your mind. And a false belief firmly sustained despite contrary evidence, well, we have a word for that as well in psychiatry. It's called the delusion. And there's 3 of them that you're going to encounter along your journey so far. And I by no means am speaking like an expert. The reason I'm able to share these things with you is because I've made these mistakes along my journey. All right. And I've encountered all 3 of them along my journey so far. The golden handcuffs, the mirror, and the loaded dice. The first delusion is the golden handcuffs. People believe that their past is greater than their future. And if you're not excited about your future, well, it's going to be pretty tough to get out of bed in the morning, right? All that's left of your life is basically paying taxes, filing paperwork, and that's not really the life that I want. And that's not really the life that we deserve. For example, we see this happen time and time again in the entertainment industry. We have the Justin Biebers, or in the athletics world, we have star athletes that hit their prime in their 20s. People believe that their past is greater than the future. And for many doctors, they fall prey to this delusion. They think that their best years are in medical school, or rather, they think that right after medical school, in the next few years of their training, they think that all their work is done. They can just, pat their backs, they're done, they stop learning, they stop growing, they stop advancing their careers and serving more people. Understand, the things that got you here, they're not going to get you there. And to rise to that next level of life, to demand more from your life, to claim that quality of life that you want, you're going to have to do something you've never done before. You're going to have to let go of whatever stories that you've had in the past, and you're going to have to focus your attention on the future, building a future that you're excited by and one that fills you with passion and joy. And I hear these things all the time. Dr. Zoda, I want more time. But at the same time, I just don't have the time to make it happen right now. I want more freedom. But I'm comfortable where I'm at. I don't want to learn, do anything new. I want to help more people, serve more people. But I'm not comfortable putting myself online. So understand, whether you're focusing on the stories of the past, whether this worked, this didn't, whether you're focused on the stories of the present, your children, your obligations, your business, your private clinic, the future is going to come with or without you, and it's coming quick. If you're fighting change, then you're fighting the future, and it's only a matter of time before you get completely wiped out. Because today's world is just not the same as it was just a few decades ago. Today's world is not the same as when we were back in medical school. The world is moving so fast, things are changing so quickly, such that it's not really about how intelligent you are, how many papers you published, how many degrees you've gotten. All of that is absolutely respectable, but in the end, it's about how fast you can learn, grow, and evolve. How much you're willing to take advantage of an opportunity. How willing are you to step outside your comfort zone and live life on your own terms? Today's world is not about what you know, but what you don't know, and what you do not focus on rather than what you focus on. The best students are those that come into the program with a beginner's mind, a set of bright new eyes. They can have the best accolades, the best hands in the surgery that the world has ever seen, the best publications in their domain of expertise, the best Teacher of the Year award, complete an MBA, a thesis, a PhD. All of that is absolutely amazing and incredible, but they're willing to put on the student hat again and put those aside to become a student again. And these best students, they never forget the reason that they achieved those incredible things in the first place, because they had a beginner's mind. In the end, everyone in our community is on a path of lifelong learning and growth. We're all here to learn and support each other and help each other grow and succeed beyond our wildest imaginations. And the only way to do that is to let go of all the stories that we've told ourselves in the past, or the failures that we might have, the reasons why you might think you might not succeed, the reason you might doubt your own self-worth, the limiting beliefs and irrational fears that might hold you back. That pattern of self-sabotage ends today. And if you change nothing, nothing changes. If we do what we've always done, we just get what we've always gotten. If you want something new, you're going to have to do something new. Let go of all the stories that you've had in the past and design a future that brings you passion and joy. Because if you don't sacrifice for your future becomes the sacrifice. The work that you put in today over the next 4 chapters, the next 4 weeks in our program, will plant the seed for the future harvest. This is an investment that you made in yourself that will pay dividends down the line. It's like pushing a snowball up a hill. All it takes is a little push to get started, but once it's set in motion, the momentum carries itself and the results become automatic. To generate more passive income for you, to cut back on clinical hours, and design a life of freedom, serving others with online education. The second delusion is what I call the mirror principle. People's fears are a reflection of how they judge others. And put another way, your irrational fears are an outward reflection of how you judge others. One of the most common ones I see in the medical profession is the fear of failure. If you judge other people for their failures, you're going to constantly fear failing. And I by no means am no exception, right? The reason I'm able to show these to you and share these with you is because I've made these mistakes along my journey. I had to unlearn a lot of my past behaviors that were disempowering me in order to bring some of the lessons that I'm sharing with you in today's lesson. In the medical school, I would constantly judge my peers, the people in my study group, if they made a mistake, if they either misspoke or they said something that was blatantly wrong. I would constantly judge them. And because of this, I would constantly fear failing. Whenever it was the day before a med school exam, I would constantly fear failing. I wouldn't be able to sleep. I was basically sweating bullets by the time I showed up to the board exams, right? And the fair game, right? Medical school is a very scrutinizing process. You either pass or you fail. And what I did was I developed an unhealthy relationship with success and failure, and that's something that I had to unlearn. Second of all, doubt. If you constantly doubt other people, you're going to constantly doubt yourself. People that think that the whole world is out there to get them, well, whenever someone lends a helping hand, whenever someone offers them something to help them, they're going to push them away. They're just going to push them aside. When a new opportunity comes in, whether it's a new job opportunity, a new business opportunity, a new offer, a new dating partner, right? They're going to shut off completely. This is too good to be true. This must be a scam. Because deep down they think that they're not worthy of success. When Jeff Bezos, the creator, the founder of Amazon, created Amazon back in 1995, he was absolutely ridiculed by the public. Selling books on the internet? Who would actually buy that? Selling books, selling information on the internet? It must be a scam. Well, the thing is, time always corrects everything. Time is the greatest equalizer. And the market in the world will always have its periods of booms and busts, of manias and depressions. But in the end, when the dust settles, the truth will always reveal itself. And in the short term, the market in the world is a voting machine, right? It's a popularity contest about who gets the most likes, the retweets, who shows up on Oprah, publishes multiple books, who starts multiple podcasts, who stirs up the most buzz on the internet. You know what I'm talking about, right? The people that pose in front of expensive cars and private jets, a cacophony of drama and fake news, which pretty much describes most of social media. But in the long term, the market in the world is a weighing machine. And when the dust settles, the truth always reveals itself. And whoever serves the most people, whoever helps the most people, whoever takes action on a new opportunity while it's still young and become an early adopter, these people always win and position themselves for a life of freedom, abundance, and serving more people with their gifts to the world. And so if you live in constant doubt, if you constantly doubt other people, you're going to always live in constant doubt of yourself. Number 3, appearance. If you judge others for the way they look, then you're always going to fear the way you look. And I don't just mean like how attractive somebody actually is, but how they appear, right? How they present themselves. If you're the type of person that judges others for the way they carry themselves, the way they dress, their accent, the way they conduct themselves, well, you're always going to constantly judge yourself. And this ties with the last point, which is being bold. Next, let's talk about being weak. And what I mean by weak is simply making weak, impotent decisions. If you are indecisive and you think about it with every aspect in your life, then guess what? You're going to attract the same behavior from your relationships and with others. If whenever you go to a coffee shop, you spend 10 minutes thinking whether to get a latte or a cappuccino or an espresso or an Americano, when it comes to making the right decisions, the important decisions in your life, then you're always going to think about it. You're always going to be extremely wishy-washy. And that's exactly what I mean by a weak decision, a wishy-washy decision. I remember back in my psychiatric rotation, I remember one of the patients that I had really stood out to me. She thought that the whole world was against them. She thought that everything was out there conspiring against her. And when it came time to take her history, I realized that one of the problems that she kept telling me was that she found it very difficult to find a romantic partner. She found it very difficult to find the man of her dreams. And when I started digging deeper and deeper into her history, well, she told me that she had this rule where whenever she wanted to commit to a serious relationship, she would have to wait 33 days. Where did she pull this number from? I don't know, but she would not make any decision unless she thought about it for 33 days. So with every single past relationship she had, whenever a man that she was very interested in wanted to pursue something more serious, she would always stop them, reject herself before giving the other person the luxury of rejecting her. She would tell them that, hey, no, I need to think about it for 33 days before I can come to a decision. So of course, the people that she attracted into her relationships were non-committal, were not looking for anything long-term, not looking for anything serious, right? If you are indecisive, even with the small things like choosing which coffee to get, even with then you're just going to be indecisive with the big important decisions in your life, in your financial future. These are the people that ignore emails, letters, paperwork. They put all their tax bills inside a folder and just sweep it under the rug, and they never reply back yes or no. They never come to a decision. They never take a chance on themselves. And by not making a decision, you are making an indecision, right? By not taking action, that there is always a cost to inaction. By postponing things, procrastinating things, that decision lingers away at the back of your mind and slowly but surely eats away at you. And once I discovered that, especially with that patient example that I shared with you, I completely changed everything. Whenever I go to a menu, I'm not gonna go wishy-washy. I'm gonna make a decision right there and then. Whenever I make any meaningful purchase, I would just look at the facts, look at everything that I need to know, and then I would just commit fully and go all in 100%. Recently, I purchased a penthouse near the waterfront, and the way I made that decision because of the pandemic is that I wasn't actually able to scout the location myself. And so what I had the realtor do is basically do a FaceTime and show me around the penthouse, show me where all the mirrors are, where all the plugs are, where every single little detail actually is, what the view actually looks like, and I just made the decision by the end of that call. And a lot of this comes with being clear with what you want and what you don't want. If you know exactly what you don't want, and if you know exactly what you do want, then you can make decisions in a snap, just like that. Because if something can get you to where you want to go, then there's no reason to procrastinate or postpone or delay that decision. The sooner you get started, the better and the faster you're going to get results. And that's the same principle that I apply in every single area of my life. If it's an important decision, I'm going to make it within that day. I'm not going to let anything delay after the next 24 hours. Because you can always make more money. You can always generate more passive income. But what you'll never get back is time. Time spent with that decision eating away at you and basically killing you from the inside. Imagine going into the operation theater with an indecisive surgeon. Well, the cost of your success are pretty slim, right? Every single moment, every single minute that passes, you're putting the patient at unnecessary risk. It's much better to be decisive, make the right calls in the right moment, and commit to them fully, whether it's a yes, whether it's a no. And what's next is self-worth. If you don't invest in yourself, others will simply not invest in you, right? If someone is just too stingy or too skeptical to invest in their own future or their education or their career or their family, then they're just not going to get anyone to invest in them, right? Because that's what they believe in their own belief system. Back when I was completely broke in medical school, I would just use my library card and borrow every single book that I can get my hands on that I wanted to read, whether it's business, philosophy, psychology, neuroscience, biographies, spirituality. I mean, the list goes on. I read over 1,000 books throughout the years of my medical school. And not just medical textbooks, but all those disciplines that I talked about just now to really improve myself as a human being and become more dimensional instead of just being, one-track minded, like a one-trick pony. And so the point I was trying to make is that even in medical school, when I was completely broke, I was, drowning in student loans, I still invested in myself. I still invested my time in reading those books. I was resourceful and found a way to invest in myself and improve myself. And obviously, as I started getting more success during residency, started making some more money, I would invest more and more of my money into different training programs, much like this one, different courses, different educational content, investing in mentors, stuff like that. Recently, I invested $50,000 in a business mastermind with some of the greatest and the greatest in the digital online education space. These are people that are making way beyond what I can possibly imagine, 8 to 9 figures. And I did that because it put me outside of my comfort zone, outside of my little comfort bubble in medicine, being a doctor, serving healthcare professionals. It threw me deep into the waters so that I had to learn and grow and improve and advance myself. And this is very fascinating because it's not just whether you invest in yourself or not. It's the level in which you invest in yourself. If you've never invested more than $1,000 on your own education, on your own career, on your own training, then of course, when it comes time for you to create your own online course and price it, you won't think it's even possible. But if you've invested $2,000, $3,000, $5,000, $6,000, $10,000, then you've proven to yourself that this is possible, that the market is out there because you've become a participant in it, right? And now you have the confidence that you can do the same. You have the confidence that you can charge what you are worth. And you have the confidence that you can actually get your students' results. You can help more people, whether it's patients, whether it's helping other doctors or medical professionals, whether it's helping academics and other doctors. Your belief system is more stronger. Your belief system is more tethered to the truth. Because your worldview, your belief system is completely different from somebody that has never invested more than $1,000 in themselves. And finally, being bold. If you judge other people for putting themselves out there, you're going to encounter massive resistance when it comes time to put yourself out there, right? I remember back in the day, before I, started teaching or started serving other doctors and healthcare professionals, I would judge others for the quality of their work, for putting themselves out there. I thought, hey, I could do a better job. I could teach people. I have something to contribute. And yet, at the same time, I have this insecurity of mine about my voice. if you've listened to a few of my lessons, then you know that initially when I started, I was absolutely insecure about my voice. I don't know whether I have an accent or not. I don't know whether it's American or not, whether it's Canadian. I don't know. But I was just insecure about my voice. And I'm sure a lot of us, when we listen back to our recordings, our voice, it sounds a bit iffy. It sounds a bit off. It's not what you expect. And so when it comes time to putting myself out there, I had massive resistance, right? Even though I knew that my slides, the quality of my work is, and I'm proud of it, I had massive resistance in putting myself out there, in presenting myself. And so that was something I had to overcome. I had to step outside my comfort zone little by little and actually present myself in the best possible light. And this all starts with letting go of the judgments and biases and fears that I had with other people, whether it's the fear of failure, doubt, appearance, wishy-washy, self-worth, and being bold. I had to let go of each of these one by one along my journey. And this principle applies to everything. This is by no means an exhaustive list. If you're rude to vendors, to waitresses, to bartenders, then you are inviting this behavior into your life. In order to attract happy, healthy, good human beings into your life, then you're going to have to first become a good human being yourself. If you're closed off, reserved, if you have trust issues, well, you're going to invite that same behavior in your patients, in your family, in your relationships, in everything that you do. People that struggle to find the right idea and get students, well, they do the exact same thing to others. They say that, hey, this idea is stupid. This idea won't work. This idea is done already. This idea, all the information is out there for free. And that's because they judge other people so strongly that their minds become delusionally fixated on this concept of an idea, such that they couldn't even see the opportunities right in front of them. The right idea doesn't even matter. As long as you have the right scientific process, you're gonna figure out that idea. Right? Ideas don't happen by miracle or accident. They happen by following a proven scientific process. So the solution to all of this is to treat other people with love and kindness. Treat other people well. Be decisive. Be generous. Help people. Serve people. Say thank you. Practice gratitude. Give testimonials to the people that helped you. Right? This is going to clear space for you to invite more of the things that you want and you deserve in your life. How you do one thing is how you do everything. And how you judge others, well, it's an outward reflection of your irrational fears. Because what we condemn, we fear. And what we fear, we condemn. These delusions are powerful. Like I said, they're resilient, highly contagious. And once a delusion has taken hold of the mind, it's almost impossible to eradicate. And then delusion that is fully formed, fully understood, repeated over and over again, that sticks right in there somewhere. It's a story that you repeat it to yourself, drilled inside your mind. And it comes to shape who you are and who you'll become and the life that you experience. The third delusion is that people believe success is not in their control, and I call this the loaded dice. People just believe that success is outside of their control, right? And this is absolutely normal because most people, they hang out with the same tribe, they hang out with the same community, they see the same co-workers, doing the same thing, living the same life, and then they die. Most of these beliefs that you've heard from our society, they're not yours. They're just handed to you by society. So why do we fear change? Why do we fear change? Well, we fear change in case it makes us worse off. But the truth is, you can always direct, influence, and control change for the better. So there's nothing to fear. And the reason why I call this the loaded dice is because a die has 6 sides, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But a loaded die, there's always a bias towards one side or the other. A loaded die, the odds are not fair. And just like in life, those who win in life, those who get what they want, those who achieve all the successes, the freedom that they deserve, they stack the odds in their favor. You have the power to direct, influence, and control change for the better, so you have nothing to fear. But people are so delusional that they start believing in things like, 99% of businesses fail, 99% of X, Y, and Z fail, blah, blah, blah. They start believing in these delusions that they forgot the things that they have right inside their control, that they have the power to direct, influence, and control change for the better, in the right direction. Back in the ancient times, in small villages and civilizations, legends and myths are used to explain natural phenomena, right? This was the day and age before science. So if children had disconfigured faces, stories were told about them being a curse from the gods that will bring forth a 100-year drought. These children would then be ostracized, hung in the village, and slaughtered to protect their culture. And yet, on the other hand, if children were born showing some sort of aptitude toward a skill or some sort of craft, stories were told about how they were struck by lightning, how they were blessed by the elders, blessed by the gods, and destined to rule civilization. It was a sign of the gods, as like some sort of prodigy, a birthright. And that was the world before the world was introduced to science and critical thinking. Success is something that you're born with. That's what they thought. Success is something you're born with. It's not something that's cultivated. It was nature, not nurture. It was genetics, not the government. And it was a predetermined fate and not your own destiny. Something that's within your control. And we carried these delusional stories with us in modern culture. So if you check out the cinemas today, the newest blockbuster movies, the new Hollywood flavors of the week, superhero movies are introduced, telling stories of how heroes acquired their skills through some sort of magical spell, a chemical compound, a radioactive spider. Romance movies show star-crossed lovers that meet due to miracle occurrences, enchanted crystals, or the right alignment of the stars. News broadcasts, they only showcase the most extreme events in the world, the disasters, the politics, the earthquakes, and the more extreme, the more eyeballs it's going to get. And Hollywood showcases all these one-hit overnight successes, one-hit wonders, the Justin Biebers that had their moment of fame and disappeared twice as fast. And this applies to everything in the entertainment industry, but also social media, right? Social media showcases everyone's highlight reels, the food, the travel, the accolades, the achievements, and it has turned us into lab rats, constantly pressing on that lever to get tiny pellets of social or intellectual nourishment, just to keep up with the Joneses, right? Just to avoid the fear of missing out. Video and mobile games, they've left the entire world chasing these imaginary points in an imaginary world. Have you noticed that most of the best-selling mobile games, they're basically a simulation of a virtual casino, right? People are trading real money. They're pulling out their credit card, paying real money for these in-game currencies, gems, and tokens in a virtual world that doesn't even exist, right? And it seems more and more people these days are distracted by the next shiny object, Bitcoin, big data, artificial intelligence, get-rich-quick schemes, throwing their money into things that they don't understand. Things like real estate, things like stocks, things that they don't own and control. If you own and control these things, perfect, right? But most people, they throw their money into things they just don't understand, and they don't own and control for a measly 8%, 10% return on investment each year, right? That's like gambling at the casino. They're distracting themselves to death like a kid at a candy store. And instead, these people neglect the things that they're already pretty good at, the things that are within their control. Something like starting your own business, something like helping people which you're already great at. Something like leveraging the power of your medical expertise and the power of online education to serve more people, right? Things like healthcare, helping people on a global scale. Instead, we don't even recognize an opportunity, even if it hit you right in front of your face. And whenever we hear something so simple, so pure, so obvious, so clear, we mark it as, it's too good to be true. I can't possibly do that. I'm just not good enough. I just can't possibly do that, right? All of these channels of instant gratification, right? Whether it's entertainment, social media, news broadcasts, these buzzwords, these shiny objects, all of these are just instant gratification. And they feed the delusion that success is not within your control, but rather happens by forces that are outside of your control. It's always the next shiny object. That is what these people think. And this is one of the most pathological beliefs we have in our society right now. We imagine that success just happens out of nowhere, overnight, a strike of lightning, a blessing of the gods. We believe that success, it must be complicated for it to work. Because surely, if something is so simple, so obvious, so clear, it can't possibly work, right? It has to be the next weight loss pill, it has to be the next magic bullet, the next shiny object, the next get-rich-quick scheme for things to actually work. And so instead, caught in a frenzy of distraction and noise, we start living in denial. We start inventing stories like these on why some people can live the life that we want, that can have the success that we want, that can have the experience, the freedom, the abundance that we secretly want. We think that, she's just a natural. He's born with it. He has rich parents. He's just smart. He's talented. He's tech savvy, blah, blah, blah. They just got lucky. These canned responses justify our own shortcomings instead of facing them head on. It makes the life that we're living a lot more palatable. It keeps us in our own tiny little bubble, our own comfort zone, instead of growing and learning and evolving and helping more people with expertise that we have, sharing our gifts with the world. It's giving us an easy way out. An easy way to justify, an easy way to procrastinate and not take action, an easy way to put off the things that we know are important to us in our future. And these little satisfaction, instant gratification, they give us a false sense of comfort, but it comes at the expense of a better tomorrow for ourselves, our patients, our careers, our financial freedom, and our family. Because the truth is, everyone has the same 24 hours in a day. Everyone has strengths and everyone has weaknesses. Nobody came out of their mother's womb knowing how to perform brain surgery, right? It just doesn't happen. I've seen rich trust fund kids in my high school. They end up living under a bridge and showing up to my emergency room with needle tracks over their arms. And they couldn't even form a proper sentence in English without frothing over their mouths. And meanwhile, I've also seen some of my mentors' parents, right? They lived out of a shoebox in Greece with nothing to their name, no accolades, no achievements. They're basically nobodies, and they essentially swam across the Atlantic Ocean to get a medical degree in the United States. And now he owns a multi-million dollar company, extending the lifespan and the health span of the human race. And I myself, I came from a humble traditional upbringing with my Asian Chinese parents, and we grew up middle class, and my parents would have to work 3 jobs each to pay for myself and my sister's tuition. Finances have always been the cause of arguments. It's always been a struggle between the two of them, but I always had a good heart. I always wanted to help more people, and I knew the value of hard work and discipline. And I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth. I had to build and develop everything myself. And much like my upbringing, I'm pretty humbled and reserved, right? I like to succeed by getting real results and not just popularity, hype, likes and dislikes, blah, 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 that we see in the social media these days. You've probably noticed I avoid popularity contests like the plague. I avoid posting pictures of sports cars or myself in front of a private jet or motivational quotes on social media 10 times a day or shouting and dancing and jumping up and down in front of a stage. Instead, I like to focus all of my energy on getting my students real results and not just feel good, gimmicky results, on lasting, long-term change instead of just short-term instant gratification. And you're never going to see me, getting distracted by things I don't understand or authoring 3 different books or showing up on multiple different podcasts and talk shows and just to quote-unquote get my name out there. Because that stuff, even though it's good for publicity in the short term, it's been my observation that those who shout the loudest, they don't get the best results. And what's real to me is making quality training programs and ensuring my clients' success and letting my work speak for itself, much like the video you're watching right now. And that's how I started out as well. I had a fantastic program that my students absolutely loved. I could get them from point A to point B and replaced their clinical income. But as I started growing, as my community started expanding, people started wondering if I even existed or how to even find me. And so I had to let go of that belief once more and evolve. I had to develop my own self-confidence, my own public speaking skills, and learn how to overcome my own struggles, my own judgments, my own biases by putting myself out there. Because I knew that I had something that could genuinely help a lot of people, not just my friends, not just my colleagues, not just my mentors, and not just confined to my local environment, but could actually serve and help people online all across the world. And so in that moment, I made the decision to get outside my own head, outside my own comfort zone, and I had to learn how to put myself out there. And the truth is, whenever we do something outside of our comfort zone, it's normal to feel discomfort. What's normal is if we let these irrational fears hold us back from taking action on the success that we know is within our control. What's not normal is if we let these delusions hold us back from the freedom that we know we deserve. And so it's time to let each of these delusions go, one by one. First, it's the delusion of the golden handcuffs, thinking that your past is bigger than your future. So breathe and let go of that. Second is the mirror principle, where your irrational fears are an outward reflection of how you judge other people, how you judge, behave, and think towards others. So once again, breathe and let go of that. And finally, the delusion of the loaded dice, thinking that success is beyond our reach, thinking that success is outside of our control. Breathe and let it go. All right. Now we have a blank page. We have a clean slate, a tabula rasa. And now we've made space to install some new empowering beliefs that can bring us closer to our success. All right. And that's exactly what we're going to cover next. The power of belief, how to empower your reality. Now, your beliefs have the power to create and destroy your life, much like we illustrated just now. They can either empower you for a life of freedom and abundance, where you can master your own mindset to accomplish things that you would only dream of just a year ago. Or they can completely disempower you so that you're always suffering from the same fears and doubts that hold you back, where you remain a slave to your limiting beliefs and remain in the same situation that you were years and years ago. And the way I like to look at it is like stacking rocks. At every decision we make in our lives, we are feeding one side or the other. So for example, if let's say some software crashes on you or your iPhone crashes on you, then you can either choose to believe that, hey, I'm just not a tech savvy person. Why is the world conspiring against me? Why do things never work my way? Or you can just simply take it for what it is and say, well, time to fix it. That's it. I know a lot of people, they would struggle with math, for example, in high school. And I remember a teacher used to tell me once that I just wasn't good at math. And for a few years, that's exactly what I thought. Every time I struggled with a math problem, I would just say, I'm not a math person. I'm just not a math person. But that is completely delusional. Nobody has a math gene. Nobody's born knowing how to do math, right? And the moment I switched teachers, incidentally, during high school, I started solving problems faster. And the more I started solving problems, the more praise I started getting from my math teacher. And the more praise I started getting, the more I would actually enjoy doing math. Isn't that new for a change? I would actually borrow math books. I would actually do all my homework. I would actually do more than just my homework. I would over-deliver. And the more I did it, the better I felt, the more I enjoyed it, the more praise I got. And that led me up a upward spiral, right? And this goes back to the simple cognitive triangle that we learned in our psychiatric rotation, right? I'm sure many of us are familiar with this, but just a brief little outline. I remember back in my psychiatric rotation, right? One of the patients that I got was this lady that believed the whole world conspired against her. So every relationship that she had, she lived with fear, skeptic, refusing help. Even if our nurses or other doctors, healthcare professionals, they wanted to help her, she would always push them away. She thought everyone else is out there to get them. Everything is a scam. The reality is not real. She thinks the whole universe is out there to get her. And if she sees an opportunity, like a job opportunity, that's too good to be true, then she self-sabotages because it makes her feel comfortable knowing that she rejected others instead of the other way around. And if the man of her dreams expresses any interest in her, then once again she self-sabotages. Fear, uncertainty, doubt sinks in, and to reject someone else before someone else could actually do it to her because she felt unworthy of love. And the same applies with every area of her life, her family, job opportunities, and so on and so forth, right? And so what she believes, she becomes. Her experience of reality is the sum total of her belief system that she has trapped herself inside. Your thoughts shape your feelings shape your behavior, and your behavior reinforces your thoughts, right? Slowly but surely, this is like a drill drilling into your skull. Your entire being, your entire identity, your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, all of them will be formed to form your belief system, regardless of whether they are true or false. These beliefs will then come to define who you are, who you become, and the life and the reality that you experience. Just like my math teacher telling me I'm not a math person, just like somebody telling the story that they're not a tech-savvy person, that person replays that story inside their imagination again and again and again, like a drill inside their skull, until it cements a belief deep inside their brain. And the more we feed that one belief, the more it feeds upon itself like a vicious cycle. This is what creates positive spirals and downward or negative spirals, right? For example, we've all had a bad day when we just woke up on the wrong side of the bed. We might stub our toe, we ran out of toothpaste, and we went out the door and, it was raining. That was a pretty bad day, right? And because we started off on a bad foot, it's going to show up in every aspect of our lives. We're going to start complaining. We're going to start being a little negative Nancy. We're going to start treating others poorly. And of course, when we treat other people poorly, they're going to treat us a little bit poorly. We're going to have a bit of an attitude, and so on and so forth. This leads us down a negative spiral, right? On the other hand, we've always had a good day when we got a restful night of sleep, when we had a great breakfast, when we told our loved ones that we love them. And what I really notice is that those who make decisions quickly and are decisive and take action, those students tend to get the best results. And it's just like a compounding effect. It's like a drill in the other direction, in a positive direction. Those who make decisions quickly, they commit, they go all in, they put in the work. Those students tend to get the best results, and they make the most out of this program. Because what you believe, you become. Success becomes effortless and easy for the people that make decisions quickly, they take action, and they get results. And I'm sure you've noticed, right? It's not the events of our lives that shape us, but our beliefs as to what those events mean. So the same event can happen to two individuals, but based on the story that they tell themselves, the meaning that they attribute to that same event, the belief that they hold, the quality of their life is completely different, and the decisions and actions that they take is completely different. In other words, you experience reality not as it is, but as you are. And how are these beliefs formed? Because in order to override them, in order to take control of our own belief system, we must first understand how they are formed in the first place. And the truth is, 80% happens subconsciously and 20% happens consciously. And these are just arbitrary numbers. What I'm basically trying to say is that the majority of the thinking happens subconsciously and the minority happens consciously. We as human beings, we think that just because we have the neocortex, all of the decisions that we make must be conscious, right? The executive planning, the taking actions, decision making, long-term thinking, all of that must be conscious, right? But the truth is, the conscious mind serves the subconscious mind. The neocortex, the latest invention of the human mind, is actually serving the reptilian mind. It's actually serving the deeper ancient brain neurostructures inside our own heads. And until we make the unconscious conscious, it will dictate your life, and you will call it fate. It will always be outside of your control, because what you are aware of, you are in control of, and what you are not aware of is in control of you. And what I do works because it changes you from the inside out. And the solution to all of this is the beginning of self-awareness. Until you can bring this to the surface and make the unconscious conscious, it will dictate your life, and you will call it fate. And you can almost imagine how these beliefs will start dictating our lives. If you don't believe that success is possible, well, what you believe, you become. If you don't believe that it's possible to overcome, let's say, a drug addiction, then what you believe, you become. If you don't believe it's possible to start an online business, serving others with the expertise you already have, well, what you believe, you become. If you don't believe that it's possible to sell your expertise online and help other people, what you believe, you become. Reality doesn't just happen to you like a passive observer. You create your own reality with the beliefs that you hold and the meaning that you assign to every single event that happens in your life. What you believe, you become. And what you become, you believe. And this is a diagram basically showing how our brains receive information. This basically sums up our human experience. We take in information from our environment, so what is the objective reality, and we perceive it inside our own brains. So if you ask your child, how do you see things? Well, with my eyes. How do you smell things? Oh, with my nose. How do you hear things? Well, with my ears. This information then gets passed through our sensory organs and gets passed through into our brain, where it then processes and interprets this information. It decodes it, basically. And this is where our meaning is formed. We call this perception. So in conclusion, we see people and things not as they are, but as we are. What we believe shapes our identity, and what we believe, we become. You experience reality not as it is, but as you are. And so it would clear up a lot of the mystery if we figured out how this mechanic actually works. How do we actually form meaning, and how do we actually perceive our reality? That would clear up a lot of the mystery, and it would really help us install some new empowering beliefs inside our own minds. And there's 3 different rules that I've basically discovered and observed in my own way of thinking. This is by no means an exhaustive list, but it's simply the observations that I've made in my own thinking, my own behavior, and my own thought patterns. And I'd love to share that with you. The first rule is perception is more powerful than logic. Look, the brain doesn't realize the difference between what is objective reality and what is subjective reality. In other words, the brain doesn't actually know the difference between what is actually true versus what is perceived to be true. And that's why in clinical trials, we go through the lengths of data science and randomized control trials and double-blind studies to really get a clean data set, because it's almost impossible to get an objective account of reality through the lens of one observer. There's always going to be bias, and instead of being able to see what is actually true, we will only see what is perceived to be true. And they did a fascinating study on this. Basically, they had some subjects, and they would put a hot piece of coal behind their back. And so he would ask the patient or the subject, hey, is this hot or cold? Hot. Okay. Another hot coal. Is this hot or cold? Okay. Hot. And they would basically increase the temperature of every single hot coal behind their back. They would put another hot piece of coal. Is this hot or cold? Hot. Are you sure? Yes, I'm 100% sure. And then the next piece, they're going to switch it up with a cold piece of ice cube and put it at their back. And the subjects completely freaked out. They thought, what are you doing? They thought that it was actually a hot piece of coal. And when the test subjects were asked, well, was that hot or was that cold? Oh, it was hot. Are you sure? Yes, definitely sure. And what was crazy was that not only did they think that the ice cube, which is obviously cold, was actually hot, but their skin actually started to blister. That just goes to show how perception is more powerful than logic. Your mind simply cannot tell the difference between objective reality and subjective reality, because they believed that that was a hot piece of coal behind their back. Their skin actually completely blistered, even though in reality it was a cold piece of ice cube. And in the same way, if you ever stood in front of the CN Tower, or I don't know what's the tallest tower in the world, but in Toronto, in Canada, there's a really tall tower called the CN Tower. And people would travel there, and they would stand in front of a glass floor, and they would be able to see everything that was beneath them, the civilization, the city, the cityscape, everything. And you know it's safe. Your mind knows it's safe, but your perception always wins over logic. You're always going to fear that certain sense of dread, that certain sense of fear, even though your mind knows it's safe. And that just goes to show how perception is more powerful than logic. So how can you apply this today? Well, by simply taking action. The moment you take action, your decisions are grounded on logic instead of all the stories that you tell yourself inside your own head. And that's precisely why I chose to use this picture. It's a picture of a man looking inside a swimming pool. Whenever you want to jump inside the pool, you might think, it's too cold. It's freezing. You would see all your friends celebrating, having fun, smiling, laughing, splashing around, having the best experience of their lives. But you would stand there on the sidewalk and pass over this opportunity because you're scared. Because you're scared that the water is going to be too cold. You're scared that you're going to make a fool of yourself. Whatever the reason might be. I know for myself, the best thing to do in this situation is simply just to jump right in. Just to take action, because the moment you take action, everything sorts itself out. The moment you take action, the moment you jump into the ocean, now you can actually start experiencing the juice, the freedom, the joy, and the passion of life. And this happens conversely as well. I'm sure we've all had the experience of watching a horror movie, and oftentimes we suffer more in imagination than in our reality. We start inventing all these stories inside our heads about how this is going to fail, how there's a zombie behind that door, how this will work, how this will work. We start sensing dread before we even taken the first step and began our journey. We suffer more in our imagination than in reality. And the only solution to this is simply by taking action. Small actions taken daily yield remarkable results. It's like stacking one domino after another, one day at a time. The second rule that I discovered is that your mind learns by repetition and loves what's familiar. There's this old saying in neuroscience that neurons that fire together wire together. That was by Donald Hebb. And this means that the more you run a neural circuit in your brain, the stronger that circuit becomes. So for example, the more you practice piano, or the more you start speaking French, or the more you start learning how to juggle, the stronger these patterns, the stronger these neural circuits become. And conversely, the more you tell yourself certain stories inside your head, I'm not a math person, I'm not a tech savvy person, these stories get hardwired inside your mind. And for example, one way that I'm sure many of us can resonate with is that in medical school, the way I studied was using flashcards. I would have to drum up all these different pharmacological drugs inside my own mind. The best way to learn is just by repetition. Flashcard, 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 until I remembered basically every single drug that was available. That was the best way to actually learn. And another example that I'm sure we can all relate to is driving, right? In the beginning, when you're first getting your driver's license, everything is so unfamiliar. You have to sense the pressure of where to put on the gas pedal. You have to focus on the traffic, the road. You have to focus on your mirrors, your lights, and just overwhelming sensory overload, right? The first time you drive, I can't possibly have a conversation. I was focusing on too many different things. But now, when you drive, I'm sure you can have the radio turned on, you can have a conversation with your family, you can get distracted on your phones, you can have a crying baby at the back or a shouting dog, and everything would still work out because it's become ingrained as a pattern inside your own mind. And the more you do something, the better you get. And the more you believe something, the more you hardwire that belief until it becomes a part of your identity, just like stacking rocks on a scale, like we discussed. The bottom line is this: our minds forget things all the time. If you want to practice more positive thinking, then that's why the practice of starting a gratitude journal works incredibly well for our patients with depression and anxiety, because what we believe, we become. And the more we repeat that belief, the more it becomes hardwired inside our own mind. If we can simply engineer more positive beliefs into our daily practice, into our lifestyle, then we will, quote unquote, become a positive person. So how can you apply all of this? Take a list of all of the beliefs that you hold strongly, the negative beliefs that you have, those that disempower you and tie you down, and you want to let go of them. And also take a list of the positive beliefs that you have, those that empower you, that fills your life with passion and excitement, and you want to reinforce them, because your mind is like a garden. Over time, it grows weeds. It grows things that you don't necessarily want there. You have to let go of these negative beliefs in order to make room for these positive beliefs. Neuroscientists literally call this process synaptic pruning, just like pruning weeds from your garden. Where you weed out your garden, you can keep it clean and healthy and filled with positive beliefs that empower you to live the life that you want and take action towards your success. The third and final rule is that your mind avoids pain and is addicted to pleasure. So in the 1930s, the psychologist Skinner devised this operant conditioning chamber called the Skinner box, in which a lever pressed by this rat can trigger a reinforcing stimulus. So for example, the delivery of food, water, or some sort of punishing stimulus, for example, like a painful foot shock, right? These rats are then placed in the Skinner box and will rapidly learn to press the lever for food and to avoid pressing the lever when it delivers that shock, right? What resulted was perhaps the most dramatic experience in the history of behavioral neuroscience. These rats would then press the lever as many as 7,000 times each hour to stimulate their brains. They basically became heroin or morphine addicts. And the more they started graduating this experiment and had different variations, they started realizing that these male rats, they would completely ignore a female in heat and would jump across, basically run across these foot shock delivering floor grids in order to reach the lever. That's how powerful this pull is actually for them, right? And female rats, they would completely abandon their own newborn nursing pups in order to continuously press that lever. Some rats would self-stimulate as many as 2,000 times within the next 24 hours, completely non-stop, and would exclude and neglect any other activity. They had to be unhooked from this apparatus in order to prevent their own deaths by self-starvation. Pressing this lever became their entire world. Now, does this sound familiar? Does this sound like social media to you? I'm sure we've all heard of these stories like Pavlov's dogs, or operant conditioning, or the carrot and stick analogy, or even the marshmallow experiments with children. But all of these studies showcase how, despite the evolution of the neocortex, enabling humanity to have higher cognitive functions like decision making or planning or long-term focus, at our core, we are still slaves to our reptilian minds, our primal instincts, our impulses and temptations, our need for short-term gratification. Our brains will avoid pain at all costs, and they're addicted to pleasure. And the rise of social media has led to a generation of people addicted to instant gratification. They live their entire lives in the never-ending now, the perpetual present, just like scrolling endlessly at a bottomless feed. It's literally called a feed. Perpetually locked inside the present moment, our decisions then become overly influenced by the most immediate event. We become easily emotional, and we ascribe greater significance to problems than it should have in reality. And we're always going to want pleasure. There's no denying that. And we will always want it now. Not later, but now. But the important things in life, like building a family, securing your own financial future, serving others with education, creating generational wealth for your family, these things don't happen overnight. Success doesn't happen overnight. The best time to plant a tree was 10 years ago, and the next best time is now. If you believe that success is going to be hard work, well, of course it's going to be hard work and painful for you. If you believe that success can happen effortlessly and all you have to do is just follow the steps, if you believe that you have a gift and you are about to share it with the world, if you believe that at the end of hard work is going to be reward, well, guess what? The work that you put in is going to be filled with purpose. You're sharing your gifts with the world, one step at a time, closer to the life of your dreams and the freedom that you deserve. So how do you apply this principle? How do you apply this rule? Well, you must condition your life. You must condition your mind to fall in love with what you do. Most of my students join this program because innately they love helping other people. They love serving other people. Many of them love teaching, right? Part of medicine, part of the reason we became doctors is because we had a mentor, we had teachers, we had seniors that shared their expertise, that taught us how to navigate the landscape, the chaotic landscape of a hospital, that taught us how to do certain procedures. Medicine at its core is just about teaching. And many of us already love teaching. We already love sharing our expertise for other people. And the secret to enjoying the most out of life is to really enjoy what you do. To do work that you love. To work because you want to, not because you need to. If you ask Michael Jordan, arguably the best basketball player of all time, you'll realize that actually in his past, he was rejected in the high school. He was rejected when he first enlisted to join the high school basketball team. And yet somehow, through trials and tribulations, he became the best basketball player of all time. And there's an interview with him, around a few years ago, where the interviewer asked Michael Jordan, what is the secret to your success? What's your secret sauce? How did you go from being rejected from your high school basketball team to becoming the best basketball player of all time, where your name is echoed, where you're a legend in the basketball world? And he told the interviewer, dead on, and looked him in the eyes and said, you have to fall in love with the game. In order to live a life of passion, a life of freedom and abundance, you must fall in love with what you do. Again, and claim back the joy that you once had in helping other people, in serving people. That's part of the reason why most of us entered medical school in the first place, to help more people, but on our own terms. And for me, it's being of service, seeing my students generate passive income, make incredible progress, and experiencing the freedom and abundance in their lives. As our students grow, our community grows, raising our standards of excellence for the future of medicine and online education. And throughout the next 4 weeks, we will help you uncover what it is that you truly love, to help you fall back in love with medicine, fall back in love with teaching, and serve more people with online courses. And so, in summary, what you believe, you become. And what you become, you believe. What you believe to be true affects the reality that you experience. First, we can make our beliefs, and then our beliefs make us. It doesn't matter what is true. With work, what you believe will become true. And by making the unconscious conscious, we can now have our hands on the steering wheel of life and be able to dictate our own life and decide our own destiny. This is the beginning of self-awareness, and this is the beginning of self-acceptance. Alright, so this leads us to the topic of self-acceptance, discovering who you are. And there's only 3 things that you need to succeed. Remember what they are? First of all, a plan. Second of all, specialized knowledge. And third of all, a healthy mindset. The problem for most people is that they just don't know where they are and they don't know where to go. If you imagine your life like a GPS, if you don't know where you are and you don't know where you want to go, well crap, it's no wonder that most people end up completely lost in life. Not even a GPS can save you. On the other hand, if you do know where you are and you do know where you want to go, then the path will automatically appear. All you have to do is just follow the steps and you'll get to where you want to go effortlessly. This is what this program does for you. Think of this program like a GPS. If you know where you are and you know where you want to go, we'll show you exactly, step by step, the most simple and effective path to get you to where you want to go fast. And with the support from my specialist team, as well as our community of over 100 doctors, nurses, PAs, and medical professionals, will hold your hand every step of the way to a life of freedom and abundance. But this all starts with knowing where you are and where you want to go. Most people don't even know where they are, and as a result, they can't figure out where they want to go. And you want to imagine yourself, a patient coming into your clinic with hypertension. If they don't even know their baseline, they don't even know what their blood pressure is, then it's very hard to devise a management plan to help them control their symptoms. It's very hard to develop a management plan to get their blood pressure, their hypertension under control. Perhaps they do know where they are, but their goals are unclear or ill-defined. Most people's goals are to pay their lousy bills, to get by, to survive, to make it through the day. In short, they are caught up in a trap of making a living rather than designing a life. It's not just setting the goals that actually matters, but the quality of life that you experience along the way. Listen, whether you want it or not, time is going to pass by 1 second at a time. And 10 years from now, you'll arrive somewhere. The question is whether you decide this destination consciously or unconsciously. Whether it's a life you consciously chose or somehow ended up by accident, that is your decision, and you're going to end up somewhere regardless. See, clarity brings power, and we want to get crystal clear on what you want and design a life worth living. And this requires you to be fully honest with yourself. These are the 4 stages of self-awareness. Most of us start off somewhere here in these 3 boxes. For example, we have low internal and external self-awareness. This includes the seekers. They don't know who they are, what they stand for, or how their relationships see them. As a result, they might feel stuck or frustrated with their performance and relationships. Then there are those that have low internal self-awareness and high external self-awareness. These are the pleasers. They can be so focused on appearing a certain way to others that they could be overlooking what actually matters most to them. Over time, they tend to make choices that aren't in service of their own success and fulfillment, pleasing other people instead of focusing on the things that bring them joy and fulfillment. Then we have the introspectors, people that have a low external self-awareness, but high internal self-awareness. They're clear on who they are, but don't challenge their own worldviews or search for blind spots by getting feedback from others. And this can harm their relationships and limit their success. And finally, this is the box in which we all want to be, high external and internal self-awareness. These are people that know who they are, what they want, and seek out and value other people's opinions above all else. This is where leaders begin to fully realize the true benefits of self-awareness, and this is where you want to be. And self-awareness is essentially self-inquiry, the conversation that you have with yourself, your inner dialogue. And hey, the relationship you have with yourself is the only one you're ever going to get, from the moment you were born to the moment you die, so you might as well have a healthy relationship and a healthy conversation with yourself. I realized that the main difference between the people who seemed to be successful in any area and those who weren't was simply down to the questions that they asked themselves. These successful people, they asked better questions, and as a result, they got better answers. Most people tend to ask disempowering questions. The questions that they ask are lousy, and as a result, they get terrible answers. Questions like, oh, what if I fail? What if this doesn't work? What if I'm just not good enough? What if I don't get accepted? What if I don't pass my boards? What if I relapse? These questions are terrible because they disempower you. Successful people develop a pattern of asking questions that empower them. Quality questions create a quality life. Instead of asking, will this actually work? They ask, how can I make this work? Right? Imagine going into a marriage thinking, oh dear, will this actually work? Will this marriage thing actually work? Well, damn, I mean, your marriage is pretty much destined to fail to begin with.
Instead of asking, will this work? How can I make this work? What can I do today to make this happen? They think long term. What action can I immediately take such that my future self would thank me for? What would this look like if it was easy, clear, and obvious? Have I done this before and succeeded? You want to remind yourself of the previous times you've succeeded. Most doctors, most healthcare professionals, a big part of our job is education, whether it's patients or our colleagues. It's simply sharing information and sharing our expertise, sharing our gift with the world. Whether it's teaching other residents or medical students, all of us already do some form of teaching already in our day-to-day. Now we can package the expertise for the online world to generate passive income and generational wealth. All right? By asking better questions, you're going to get better outcomes because what you believe, you become. You want to develop the habit of turning these obstacles into opportunities. And there's no such thing as making a mistake, all right? There's no such thing as mistakes, just happy accidents. And there's no such thing as failure, just feedback. Case in point, some of the greatest medical breakthroughs came from taking advantage of these happy accidents. For example, penicillin, the invention of chemotherapy drugs, X-rays, Valium, the pap smear, Viagra, all of these were inventions that were discovered accidentally, stumbled upon in search of something else. Remember, it's not the questions that you ask, but also the questions you fail to ask that shape your destiny. Quality questions create a quality life, and a statement closes the mind, and a question opens the mind to all different possibilities. These questions can either empower you or disempower you. And here are some action items. We want to establish our old baseline. We want to get crystal clear, an accurate snapshot of where we are right now. And this includes your character traits as well as your judgments and biases. All right. First of all, the 2 personality tests that are, well approved in the scientific community is the Myers-Briggs test, the MBTI, and the Big 5 personality test, the Ocean test. And so here is the MBTI test. You can simply click tick a test, and it's a free personality test. And simply answer these questions, and it's going to give you an accurate snapshot of which 1 out of 16 of these personality types you fall behind or fall into. So, for example, one of them is the INTJ, the architect, and it's going to give you a snapshot of the strengths and weaknesses that you might have. So, for example, architects, they're rational, informed, independent, but their weaknesses is that they tend to be arrogant, dismissive of emotions. So they're hyperlogical. They don't really take into account emotions. Overly critical, combative, romantically clueless, okay? And you can even look at the career paths, the parenthood, and you'll be surprised at how fascinatingly accurate these tests tend to be, all right? The second test is the Big 5 Ocean test. And the Big 5 personality test looks like this, and it's widely accepted and is commonly used model inside the field of academic psychology. In fact, it was based on a study done by Goldberg back in 1992. You can actually read more about this here. You can simply click Begin Assessment, and it's going to list you some questions. And this is some fun stuff because it's more about discovering who you actually are, right? Any progress that we make in life, it's all about who we are and who we are becoming. Unless you know who you are, then it's just like Sun Tzu says, the military strategist. If you don't know yourself and you don't know your enemy, then you're always going to fear the outcome of 100 battles. But if you do know who you are, well, then it's actually, life becomes quite effortless because you know your strengths, you know your weaknesses, you know your blind spots to watch out for. And the result that you're going to get from this test is what's called the Ocean, the acronym Ocean. And this stands for openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. So openness is basically high scores tend to be original, creative, curious. Low scores tend to be conventional, down to earth, And conscientiousness tends to be reliable, well organized, self-disciplined. Doctors tend to be very high in this area because our field is very scrutinizing, and we have to dot our I's, cross our T's, and we have to be very disciplined. Low conscientiousness means you're disorganized, undependable, negligent. All right. Extroversion, that pretty much sums up what you assume it would be. So sociable, friendly, warm, talkative. Low scorers tend to be introverted, reserved, quiet. Agreeableness tends to be people that are good-natured, sympathetic, warm, friendly. Low tend to be critical, rude, harsh, callous. Okay. And neuroticism tends to be nervous, high-strung, insecure, always worrying, anxious. Low scores tend to be calm, relaxed, laid back, that sort of stuff. All right. Doctors tend to be very high in conscientiousness, once again, because of our job description, and also high in agreeableness, because I assume that most people that enter medical school, most people that enter the medical field, they're there to help people. They want to serve more people. They want to help more people. So and they're warm and friendly, and they like interacting with other patients, right? So high agreeableness and high conscientiousness. And you want to, just do this test and look at your results and see if they match up or not. Next, I've prepared a Freedom Fastlane Bible. And what this basically is a short little worksheet. And it includes establishing your old baseline. So once again, you want to get an accurate snapshot of where you are right now. Just like a GPS, you want to figure out where you are right now. And this includes your character. So how would you describe yourself in 3 sentences? Where do you live? How do you present yourself? What do you wear? What do you look like? Right? Your Myers-Briggs test, the first personality quiz that I covered. And what are your current biases? So for example, if you're a very logical person, then you might be neglecting your intuitive side. If you're very masculine, so like very competitive, very aggressive, very goal-oriented, then you might be neglecting your feminine side, like the go with the flow, approaching things with grace and warmth. All right? If you're a very shy person, then you might need to work on your outgoing side. If you're very organized, then sometimes it's important to introduce some chaos into your life, some experimentation, some ingenuity. All right? If you're a very, very charitable person, if you're a very selfless person, sometimes it's time to prioritize your own needs, your own health, your relationships. All right? There's no right or wrong answers. It all depends on where you skew in this continuum, which side you're more biased towards. And you want to be aware of this. Once again, there's no right or wrong answers. No one's here to judge you. It's more about knowing who you are right now at this stage in time. All right? What are your good and bad habits? What do you do repeatedly? Strengths, weaknesses, negative things that pop into your mind. What was your childhood like? Because a lot of our adulthood is actually a manifestation of what happened in the past, whether it's some childhood trauma or just some childhood positive experiences that we've had. If you grew up in a very low socioeconomic class and you always had to struggle to make ends meet, if your parents are, in the low socioeconomic class, that might give you a drive to make more money when you get older, to really prioritize your finances. All right. On the other hand, let's say you had some sort of childhood trauma, right? You weren't loved by your parents. You weren't accepted by your peers. Maybe that's going to give you the drive to really push yourself, to prove other people wrong, stuff like that. Okay? A lot of our adulthood is actually a extrapolation and manifestation of our childhood trauma. And if you'd like to read more of that, you can definitely look into Sigmund Freud's and Carl Jung's studies. So, what past events do you worry about or replay in your mind over and over again? Once again, one of the brain rules that we covered is what gets repeated. Your mind loves repetition. Your mind learns by repetition. And so the stories that you keep telling yourself over and over and over again inside your head, you want to list them down. Whether it's a good story or a bad story, list them out. And in this case, talk about those stories that you keep repeating in your head. Like, oh, I'm not a math person. I'm not a tech-savvy person. Where did this story come from? Who gave it to you? It had to occur somewhere, right? It just didn't happen out of thin air. A tech-savvy gene or a math gene, it doesn't happen, right? It had to happen somewhere. What things do you worry about in the future? What blocks you from achieving what you want today? And how do you imagine yourself gossiping and talking about you in the cafe? This is an important question because a lot of us, we really care about the way we are perceived by the outside world. Is this accurate? Is this not? Is this a rational or irrational fear? You want to list it down. Do you think people are gossiping behind your back, saying that you're sloppy, you making mistakes, saying that they don't like you, the way you look, the way you appear, saying that, whatever it might be, just list it out. It's whatever you think. There's no right or wrong answer. Next, let's talk about the judgments and biases. And the best way to look at this is the people that you idolize or admire, like people whose work you admire. This could be fictional or non-fictional, so like real people. Either mentors that you've had in the past or like movie characters or biographies you've read. Who are people you idolize or admire? And what traits or characteristics do you like about these people? Because what you like is probably what you're biased towards. If you like people that are very entrepreneurial, that are very creative, then you probably like that trait inside yourself. On the other hand, well, who are 3 people you despise and think are wrong? Maybe it's people that are very greedy. People like living on Wall Street, smoking a cigar. Maybe you think that money is greed. Well, guess what? What traits or characteristics do you dislike about these people? Maybe you think they're greedy. Maybe you think that they're selfish. Maybe you think that they're egotistical, arrogant, right? Well, what things do you love doing and could happily do every day? What things do you hate doing and never want to do? Once again, there's no right or wrong answers. What 4-letter result did you get from the Myers-Briggs test? And the opposite of each type is as below. So The Myers-Briggs test, it gives you 16 different personality types, which are a combination of these 8 variables. All right. You want to identify your opposites and see how you are going to need them to achieve your goals and dreams. Try to introduce more of the opposites into your life and into your business, and be aware that these problems will exist due to things being too binary and biased on one side. So for example, if I'm too introverted, quiet and reserved, maybe I need to introduce some more extroversion. I need to be more loud. I need to put myself out there to be more outgoing. I have a fear that I might annoy other people because extroverts tend to be, I judge them for thinking that they're too loud and too arrogant and too noisy and, the life of the party, they're just annoying. Maybe that same irrational fear that I had is the same outward reflection of how I judge myself. Maybe what I need is actually to become more extroverted, to put myself out there. For example, the N stands for intuition. So random, no rules. Maybe if you're just no rules, go with the flow, you need some more structure in your life. You need to schedule things. You need to block out your time to make things happen. Feeling, if you're a very emotionally sensitive person, then maybe you need to be more logical. You need to handle criticism well. If somebody tells you you're doing something wrong, maybe instead of just feeling like pain and sorry for yourself and guilt, you should just look at it logically and thank the person for, hey, thank you for your feedback. That's it. It's nothing more than that. There doesn't need to be any emotional attachment to it. And if you're a perceiver and you're very indecisive, maybe it's time to be more decisive. Maybe it's time to start taking action, start doing the things that you committed yourself to doing. And do you see how your current judgments and biases are in direct conflict with the dream that you have for yourself? Do you see how these things that you dislike in other people and judge them are the exact same things you need for yourself to achieve your dreams? It's just like the mirror principle we covered. Your irrational fears are an outward reflection of how you judge other people. Understand that the way you exist at this moment, it makes it impossible to achieve your dreams. Who you are right now will never achieve your dreams. All right, that's just the truth. You must evolve and become someone else. You must evolve to achieve your dreams, and that means letting go of these irrational fears, limiting beliefs, judgments, and biases that hold you back. You have to evolve, grow, and become someone better, a better version of yourself, one that can achieve your dreams effortlessly. So congratulations, you established an old baseline for yourself. And that is exactly what's covered in the action items. Next, let's talk about the Freedom Fastlane and the decision on who you'll become. You want to become someone who can achieve your dreams effortlessly instead of being tied down to the limiting beliefs and irrational fears you previously had. Let go of all of them, become someone new. Start a new chapter in your life. All right. Decision means cutting off from all possibilities and going all in. And make that commitment, go all in, and make this happen for yourself. You have my team, you have our community of over 100 students, and all of our students are cheering you on. Instead of going alone, we're gonna go together. We've done this so many times before, and you can just follow our footsteps. First and foremost, if you change nothing, nothing changes. One thing that we can be certain in life is that if we do what we've always done, we're always gonna get what we've always gotten. In life, you don't get what you want. Sad luck, but you don't get what you want. You get more of who you become. And the answer to this question, 10 years from now, you're gonna arrive somewhere. The answer is your decision is where. All right. The answer to this question is exactly what I've been alluding to all along, the power of decision. Understand that everything that happens in your life began with a decision. The life that you have right now, it's not a fluke or an accident or some miracle occurrence. It's the sum total of the decisions that you made. And I believe that it is in these moments that your decision shapes your destiny. Right now, you can make a decision to heal the world with your medical expertise without sacrificing any more of your time on one-to-one consultations. You can decide to generate passive income, pay off student loans, secure your retirement without worrying or dreading the next bill. You can decide right now to take better care of yourself, your family, spend more time with people that you love, to explore the hobbies that you've given up during your medical career. Maybe you want to learn to fly a helicopter, to run a marathon, begin meditating, learn to speak French, to travel the world with people you love, to fly to Fiji and live on an island. If you truly decide to, you can do almost anything in this world. The world is your playground and you only get one life. So you might as well treasure it, you might as well make the most of it. The most exciting thing about all this is that you already have the power to make this happen. All it takes is to make the right decision, to start this journey, and to take action, decisive action. If you want massive results, then take massive action. If you don't want any results, if you don't want no results, then take no action. It's as simple as that. Now, I can't promise you a perfect life, but I can promise you a better life. The problem is, most people live their lives like a leaf blowing in the wind. Their destinies are nothing but a forethought, an afterthought, and they see themselves as victims to invisible forces outside their control. It's always the government's fault, the banking system's fault, the healthcare system's fault. But if you look at most people, their day-to-day lives are subject to the slightest impulse and temptations, and the desire to scroll on social media, to watch an extra hour of Netflix, to binge on some junk food, nice ice cream. It's almost like they're not in control of their lives. They're subject to the influences of the reptilian mind, caged in a prison of their own design and unable to break free from the impulses and temptations that tie them down and shackle them to a life that they no longer want to live, a career that they no longer want, right? A relationship that they're no longer happy in. Understand, each of these moments, they might not seem like much, but just like dominoes stacked on top of each other, they compound over time. It is in these moments that your decisions shape your destiny. The question is, whether you made these decisions consciously or unconsciously. As you look back over the last 10 years, were there times when a different decision would have made your life radically different from today, either for better or for worse? Take a moment to think about that, right? Imagine my story in the palliative care ward, sharing my last moments with these dying patients. The most common regrets that I heard is never having started a side income, passive income. I would have never been able to work doing what I wanted to, not being able to work, having to go to work because I needed to, not because I wanted to. I stayed at a job that I disliked and I was bored by. I would have never had time to spend with my family, doing the things I love. When people look back on their lives, it is the things that they have not done that generate the greatest regret. A life worth living might be measured in many ways, but the one thing that stands above all others is living a life of no regret. If you're watching this video, you have something to offer the world that can help more people and build yourself a life of absolute freedom. The best time to plant a tree is 10 years ago. The second best time is now. And the worst time is on your deathbed, when you're on life support and living out of a catheter because you have no other option. Look back over the last 10 years. Were there times when a different decision would have made your life radically different than it is today, either for better or for worse? The day my life changed just happened in one moment. The day I determined not just what I'd like to have in my life or what I wanted to become, but when I decided who and what I was committed to having and becoming in my life. And in the same vein, we don't rise to our highest aspirations. We fall to our lowest standards. You want to create a character for yourself where success is not just a dream or a fairy tale, right? It's a hygiene standard. You expect success every day. Anytime that you sincerely want to make a change, the first thing you must do is to raise your standards, because we don't rise to our highest aspirations. We fall to our lowest standards, what we're willing to tolerate. When people ask me, how did I change my life at such a young stage of my career? I tell them that absolutely the most important thing was changing what I demanded of myself, my standards. I wrote down all the things that I would no longer accept in my life, all the things that I would no longer tolerate, and all the things that I was aspired to become. You see, in life, lots of people know what to do, but few people actually do what they know. Knowing is not enough. You must take action. And here's the action items for establishing your new baseline. Let's revisit the Bible, and we're going to conclude with an exercise. So here is the Freedom Fastlane Bible. So once again, now we're going to establish a new baseline. Just now we established our old baseline, our character, our judgments, our biases. Now we're going to establish a new baseline. So what is your dream? What do you even want? Make this as clear as possible and come back each day to build upon it. Once you can see an image inside your head, it's amazing how the universe conspires with you to create it. You want to visualize this as clearly as possible. Feel the sensations, the smells, and everything. Clearly define your dream. What would it be like? How would you be feeling when you achieve the things you desire? Next, let's define your dream. Make it as clear as possible. Where do you want to live? What do you want to do each day? Where will you live? Most people have lousy goals like, I just want to lose weight. Well, how much weight and by when? 5 pounds, 10 pounds, 20 pounds, 30 pounds? This week, next month, in 12 months? Based on those parameters, the way we're going to help you get there is going to be completely different. So you have to be crystal clear with what you want, right? If you have a financial goal, how much money do you want to make in the next 12 months? 100,000, 200,000, 500,000, 1 million? Get crystal clear on it, because that's how we're going to help you. Next, declare your dreams to those who care. The best way to succeed is to tell other people, your loved ones, your family, and your friends, because this is going to put pressure on yourself to perform. Next, decide what you're going to do. What is your online course idea? Who are you going to help and with what? Most people think they need a perfect idea before they get started, but that actually isn't the case. That's putting a barrel before the wheel. We're going to help you figure out your idea inside week 1 of the program. We're going to get crystal clear by following a scientific process, a proven process to get crystal clear on who you want to serve and what you want to teach. And we're going to map out your online course. So you already got that covered from that worksheet. Next, design your entire life. How do you want to spend your time, your capital, your newfound freedom? Maybe you want some more passive investments. Maybe you want to travel. Maybe you want to spend time with your loved ones. Maybe you want to explore some new hobbies. Design it. Make it exciting. Don't be some lousy sort of goal that, that you're not going to wake up in the morning for. Make it exciting. Make it so that you wake up every single day working, chipping away towards this goal. Next, design the daily actions. Take the big picture and break it down into current year, then the year becomes months, and the months become weeks, and the weeks becomes days into a daily action plan. And we're going to help you cover that inside our Mapping Your Six-Figure Course worksheet. Finally, it's time to deliver. It's time to commit, time to take action. Commit to one thing that you're going to do today to make this happen. Whether this is just booking a strategy call to speak with our team, whether it's showing up on the coaching calls so that you can ask for our help, whatever it might be, whether it's just introducing yourself inside our community and sharing your vision, sharing your gifts with the world, whatever it might be, start to take action this lesson and actually implement it immediately, because power comes in momentum. Take these actions today and live a life of freedom. And the final exercise is what I call defibrillating your pattern. And just like an ECG, right? Most of us live lives like a regular rhythm. We live our lives, we go to our jobs, we go to our commute, we come back, we watch an hour of Netflix. Our rhythm is very predictable. It's the same thing. And sometimes the best way to elicit change is to shock the rhythm, to defibrillate our patterns. And obviously, I'm not telling you to put some defib pads on your breast and start shocking yourself. What I'm saying is simply just doing something that you previously wouldn't. If an opportunity arises but you haven't taken action of because of excuses, maybe it's time to take advantage of this opportunity. Maybe it's something you've been procrastinating on, in which case go back, take action. Maybe it's a conversation that you didn't have because it's difficult and you're scared of hurting someone else's feelings. You're scared of your own feelings being hurt. Someone you haven't confronted due to irrational fear. Give them a phone call. Text them right now. Make that commitment. Once again, it's like a domino stacked on top of another. These small actions accumulate over time and they carry momentum. And a really good one that I like to do is just to eat something that I never would, right? If I want to lose weight, I just eat a salad. It's just one salad. I'm not committing to a crazy diet. It's just one salad. And you'll be surprised. When I eat one salad, well, guess what? I'm going to start drinking black coffee instead of white coffee, instead of with milk. I'm going to start eating a second salad. I'm going to start going to the gym. These things feed upon itself, just like a positive spiral. And you want to focus on the positive, only selectively focus on the positive and feed that upward spiral, because that's how you're going to get success. All right? I'm very excited to work with you for the next 4 steps of our program to help you generate passive income and build a life of financial freedom and abundance.